Hello everyone. Okay, so this is a review of how to illustrate pure competition using the total cost family of curves and the average cost family of curves. So these are graphs I hope you're already familiar with drawing. Now how do we tie them together? Remember first of all that this is the price per unit and these are cost per unit, so it's possible to drag that price value into that graph. So in this picture we would call it the price line. Now of course we cannot draw it over into this picture. The reason is because this is a price per unit, but these are not cost per unit. These are total cost of the factory. So the scale over here is way different from this scale. So the way we represent price or revenue in that first graph is with our total revenue function. And since this is a purely competitive firm, the total revenue function starts at 0, 0, and then it rises kind of like this. Now the new question becomes, well, where will the firm operate? It has no control over its price because it's a price taker, but it does have control over its output. So it will search for the best output that maximizes its profits. And that best output will be where it's the greatest vertical distance between the total revenue function and the total cost function. And these lines are kind of crowded here. That's unfortunate, but I think it's somewhere like this. And this would be Q star, the profit maximizing output. And then of course this over here would be the total revenue that goes with that Q star. Keep in mind it's not the same as this intersection of the total variable cost curve. That's just a random event. Now the total cost comes from here where the Q star hits on the total cost line. You can bring that over. So this thing is total revenue and this thing is total cost, and the difference between them is total profit. Now in this picture over here, the way we find the profit maximizing output is we just take the price line across until it hits marginal cost, and then we bring that value down, and this would be Q star. And then of course this is the price line, we've already marked it. In this spot right here where Q star hits the average total cost curve, we can bring across, and if this was done on graph paper you could read off the average total cost. So this is what it costs to make each unit on average. This is what we're selling each unit for, and so the difference between them, this difference right here, would be not the total profit but the average profit per unit. It might sound a little confusing to you, but the easiest way to remember is everything in this picture is per unit. Price per unit, cost per unit. Everything over here is in totals. This is total revenue, total cost. Another good way to see how these things are connected is to put in some actual numbers. So let's imagine this number is 500. Now everything in green I'm going to make up, and then everything in red I'm going to calculate. So if that number is 500, which I just made up, what is this number over here? This number over here must be 500 because this is just two ways of showing the cost of the very same firm. Now, what about this number right here? That number right there, I don't really know what it is. It's just the equilibrium quantity because this is just a firm that makes 500 units, and here's the same firm making 500 units, but this isn't a firm. This is the whole marketplace. I don't know how many firms there are, how many are big or small, or any of that stuff. I just know that that's the equilibrium quantity. Alright? Now, if I tell you that the selling price is, let's say the selling price is $8, so in green I'm just going to write this as $8. Remember, everything in green I'm just making up. So if the price line is $8, then what is total revenue? Here's total revenue right here. There's a formula for total revenue that says total revenue is the selling price times the number of units produced. So the selling price was $8 and we produced 500 units. So the total revenue is 4,000. So this is 4,000. Similarly, if I tell you that the average total cost is, say, $6, just making that up now, if I tell you that's $6, then what is the total cost? Well, you have to remember that average total cost is equal to total cost divided by output. So if the average total cost was $6, I don't know what my total cost was, but I know that my output was 500. I can work backwards. $6 times 500, and I get 3,000. So this number right here is 3,000. So if my total revenue was 4,000 and my total cost was 3,000, my total profit must have been 1,000. Hope you can see that. Now let's see if that makes sense in this picture over here. In this picture over here, we have our selling price is $8. Our cost per unit on average was $6. So our profit per unit on average must have been $2. But $2 looks very different from 1,000. But remember, this is $2 profit per unit. So how many units did we sell? We sold 500 units. So 500 times $2 per unit exactly equals 10,000. And that's how these things are related. Now, one last thing. If you met this person at a party that owned this firm and you ask them how's business, they would say business is great because they're making $1,000 of economic profit, total economic profit. Or they may say it to you like this: we're making $2 of economic profit on every unit we sell, and we're selling 500 units. So business is really great. So the question becomes, well, what will the firm do? Well, it turns out that since this is a purely competitive firm, other firms will be attracted to that profit. Other firms will come in. And as those other firms come in, it will move the supply curve. At first, just a little tiny bit and hardly anyone will notice, but then more firms will come in and more firms will come in. And can you see that more and more firms will come in, and as they do, they will drive the price down. Now, as the price gets driven down, this price line right here is going to edge down, 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 and you can see that Q star is going to back up along this marginal cost curve because the price line is going to hit at lower and lower places on the marginal cost curve until we finally get all the way to here, and then it will stop. So the supply curves will continue to shift out until finally they come to equilibrium like this, and we get a new equilibrium price way down here. Alright? So that looks pretty low. It's down here below $6. Let's say it's 5, just making that up. Now at $5, how many units will they produce? Well, they'll come along this price line until they hit marginal cost, which is here, and they will produce there. I don't know what that is. It's less than 500. Let's say it's 400, just making that up. Now the question is, are they making any profit? Well, they're selling every unit for $5, right? And what is their average cost per unit? Their average total cost is read from this 400. You just come up till you hit the average total cost curve, which is right there. And so their cost per unit is $5. Their selling price is $5. So they're making 0 economic profit. Or another way of saying the same thing is that they are making normal profit. Remember, normal profit is included in the cost curves. Now, how would we show that same illustration in this picture over here? What we would have to show is that the total revenue curve is getting flatter and flatter and flatter, rotating along this point until finally it's just tangent to the total cost curve. And that number right there has to be exactly what it was in this picture over here. So in this picture over here it was 400, so it must be 400 here. Okay, now what about total revenue and total cost? Well, they intersect here, so they're the same right there. So right there, I was a little tight, but it's total revenue is equal to total cost now, right there. So there's no economic profit. There's zero economic profit. But what are these numbers? Well, we can figure them out. If the selling price was $5 and we now make 400 units, what is total revenue? Total revenue is $5 times 400 units. I get 2,000. So this number right here is 2,000, right? And it's also total cost. It should be obvious, but if it's not obvious, you can do it the same way. Average total cost, which is read from this function, average total cost is $5. So if average total cost is $5 and we made 400 units, the total cost must have been, whoa, that was weird, $5 times 400 units, the total cost must be 2,000. So total cost equals total revenue. There's zero economic profits, or if you like, you can call it normal profits. Okay, so that's how we work this out. That's the drawings for the total cost family of curves and the average cost family of curves for a purely competitive firm. The next one would be the very same drawing except for a monopoly firm, and I'll do that in a different lesson. Good luck!